The Velari star system was small, quiet, and easy to ignore. It was hidden on the edge of the Orion Arm, far from trade routes and far from powerful empires. For centuries, the Velari people lived in peace. They farmed, studied art, built simple cities, and rarely explored beyond their own moons. They believed the galaxy was too big and too dangerous for them, but danger did not care about their beliefs. It arrived one cold blue morning. A young Velari officer named Talon Vey stood at the glass window inside the planetary defense tower. His silver eyes stared into the sky as he scanned for unusual activity. It was supposed to be a normal day, a calm day, but something in Talon's heart felt wrong. He could not explain it, but his instincts whispered, something is coming. Talon was only 20 cycles old, barely an adult in Velari terms, but he had always been sensitive to changes around him. That morning his skin felt cold. His mind felt heavy and the sky felt too quiet. Inside the tower, the control room hummed with gentle machines. Soft blue lights glowed across the consoles. The Velari were peaceful people, so their technology was simple, elegant, and mostly defensive. They had never built warships, they had never fought a large battle, they had never needed to. But 2 hours later, everything changed. A sudden alarm burst through the silence, a sharp, violent sound unlike anything the tower had ever produced. Talon jumped to the console. What is this? What signal is this? The other officers stared in confusion. It is coming from deep space, one said slowly. A fleet is entering the system, but the signatures, they are not Velari. Talon's heart stopped. On the main screen, hundreds of red dots appeared, each one an enemy ship. They moved fast, too fast. They had already crossed the outer asteroid belt. Talon whispered, "Who are they?" A senior officer responded with a trembling voice, "Dravix, it is the Dravix Empire." Fear spread through the room like cold fire. The Dravix were known across nearby systems as conquerors. They took resources, destroyed weak civilizations, and then moved on. They were monsters with sharp armor and hearts built only for war, and now they were coming for Velaris Prime. The officers panicked. The generals shouted orders. Citizens across the planet began running into shelters. The Velari had never fought an empire before. They did not have weapons strong enough. They did not have ships powerful enough. They did not have allies close enough. Talon's mind raced. "We need help. We must send a signal." Yes, the senior officer agreed, but the question is, who will answer? Talon turned toward the sky again. It felt darker now. He pressed a hand to the glass. "Anyone," he whispered. "Anyone who can hear us." The elder of Velaris Prime, Elder Sarai, entered the command room. She walked slowly but with purpose. Her golden robe shimmered, but her eyes were tired. She had lived long enough to know how cruel the galaxy could be. "Talon," she said softly, "prepare a distress call." Talon nodded and activated the transmitter. His hands shook as he typed the emergency code. "What frequency, Elder?" he asked quietly. "The universal one," she replied. "The one every species can hear." "But Elder," one officer whispered, "if the Dravix hear it." "They already know we are here," she said. "Let the galaxy know too." Talon swallowed hard and activated the broadcast. The signal was simple, clear, and desperate. "This is Velaris Prime. We are under attack by the Dravix Empire. We request assistance. Anyone please help us." The message repeated again and again and again. For 10 long minutes there was no response. Talon stared at the silent screen, feeling his hope die with each second. The Dravix fleet was now close enough that their ships were visible through the telescope, black and sharp like metal predators. He whispered, "No one is coming." The elder placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "We had to try, child. But who would help us?" Talon said, his voice cracking. "We are small, we have nothing to offer, the galaxy does not care about us." Elder Sarai sighed. "Sometimes the galaxy surprises us." But even she did not sound convinced. The Dravix ships began to slow as they approached orbit. They wanted to enjoy the fear they created. They circled the planet like wolves around a trapped animal. Their giant flagship opened its weapon bays. The Velari defense tower shook as the ground trembled beneath them. A Dravix commander sent a message through the system. His voice was dark and cruel. "Velaris Prime, you are weak. You will surrender now. Your cities will burn." Talon clenched his fists. The room was silent except for the crackling of the transmission. Panic spread across the planet. Children cried. Families hid in underground shelters. The Velari military prepared for a hopeless fight, but Talon refused to give up. He walked to the console again. He looked at the stars outside the window, billions of points of light, but none close enough to save them. "Please," he whispered. "If anyone can hear this, please answer." He lowered his head, then it happened. A soft beep echoed from the console. A small green light blinked. The officers froze. Talon's breath caught in his throat. "We are receiving a response signal." The officer's voice shook. "From where?" Talon asked. The officer looked at the coordinates on the scanner, confused. "It's from human space." The room fell silent. Humans, they were mysterious, powerful, and unpredictable. Many species knew of them, but few had spoken directly with them. The Velari had only heard rumors, stories about human bravery, human anger, human loyalty, and human madness. Elder Sarai stepped forward, put the message through. Talon pressed the button, the screen flickered, a human face appeared, strong, calm, and focused, a woman wearing a dark uniform with blue stripes. Her voice was firm. "This is Admiral Liana Reyes of the United Human Coalition. We received your distress call." Talon felt his heart race. You received it?" he asked. "Yes," the human replied. "We heard everything." Talon's voice trembled. "How many ships can you send? Even one would help." Admiral Reyes paused just for a second, then she said something no one in the room expected. "We are not sending one ship, Velaris." The officers exchanged confused looks. Talon leaned forward. Admiral Reyes looked directly into the screen, her eyes fierce. "We are sending an armada." The Velari command room fell silent. No one moved, no one breathed. What?" Talon stammered. "An armada," Reyes repeated. "A full battle fleet, hundreds of ships. We will reach you in minutes." Talon almost collapsed. The elder whispered, Why help us? We are strangers." Reyes replied softly, "Because you asked for help." The screen cut off. The signal switched to navigation data. Dozens, no, hundreds of human ships entering hyperspace. Talon stared at the screen with wide eyes. Humans were coming. The officers ran to their stations, excitement mixed with fear. Hope began to rise like sunlight breaking through clouds, but suddenly the ground shook again. A Dravix warship fired a warning shot, hitting a mountain range far away. The explosion was massive. Fire and smoke rose into the sky. The Dravix commander spoke again, "Surrender now or die." But this time, the Velari were not silent. Talon lifted his chin. "Enemy fleet," he said quietly, "you will not have us." He felt something powerful inside his chest, courage he never knew he had, because help was coming, real help. The human armada was only minutes away. Outside, the sky began to glow. At first it looked like a sunrise, but it was brighter, stronger, not natural. A bright line of light tore open the fabric of space. Then another, and another. Elder Sarai stepped outside the tower balcony and looked up, her eyes filled with tears. "Talon," she whispered, "they came." Dozens of massive human warships emerged from hyperspace, formation perfect, engines burning blue. Behind them arrived wave after wave of smaller ships, fighters, carriers, destroyers. The flagship was the greatest of them all, the Horizon Spear, a colossal beast of steel and light. The Velari people stood across their cities, staring into the sky in awe. Humanity had arrived, not with one ship, not with a few soldiers, but with an entire armada. And for the first time that day, the Velari felt hope. The sky above Velaris Prime had never looked so alive. Where there had once been quiet stars and soft blue light, there were now glowing cracks of hyperspace, like giant doors opening across the heavens. Talon Vey stood frozen on the balcony of the defense tower, eyes wide with disbelief. All around him, Velari citizens stepped out of their shelters, staring up in awe. Even the wind seemed to pause, as if the whole world was holding its breath. The first human warship emerged like a steel mountain breaking through a river, then another, then 10 more. Bright blue engine trails cut across the darkness, forming patterns that looked almost like a protective wall. Talon felt warmth rise in his chest, something he had not felt since the Dravix arrived that morning. Hope. But it was more than hope, it was shock, it was relief. It was something deeper, something impossible to describe, because no one in the Velari's long history had ever come for them like this. Human ships were huge, sharp-edged, and beautifully engineered. Some looked like flying fortresses, others moved gracefully, shaped like wings. And the biggest of all, the flagship Horizon Spear, glowed like a burning star. Elder Sarai stepped beside Talon, her voice shook. "In all my years, I have never seen a fleet like this. Not even the old legends spoke of such power." Talon couldn't look away from the sky. "Humans answered us with everything." The comms channel crackled. A deep, confident voice filled the room. "Velari Command, this is Admiral Reyes. The United Human Armada has arrived. We are taking defensive position." Her voice carried authority, but also warmth, something comforting, something safe. Talon quickly rushed back into the command room. He pressed a button on the console. "Admiral Reyes, this is Talon Vey of Velaris Defense. We don't know what to say." "Thank you," Reyes cut him off gently. "You don't need to thank us yet. Focus on keeping your people safe. We will handle the Dravix." Talon felt his throat tighten. She spoke as if saving a whole planet was normal for humans. Across the system, the Dravix fleet reacted. Their ships swerved into new formations. Their sirens wailed. Their engines roared. The Dravix commander snarled from his bridge as he saw the human armada fill the sky. "Humans here for them," his second-in-command hissed. "They came faster than expected." The commander slammed his fist into the console. "They are fools. They protect weaklings who have nothing to offer. They will regret this." But despite his anger, a thin line of fear traced his eyes. The Dravix had fought many civilizations. They had burned worlds. They had crushed rebellions, but humans were different. The stories about humans traveled far, even into Dravix territory. Stories of insane bravery, stories of impossible victories, stories of humans refusing to retreat even when outnumbered 10-1. The Dravix commander growled, "We will break them here. Prepare the assault." The Armada forms a wall back above Velaris. The Horizon Spear glided into position like a guardian angel. Human destroyers formed 3 layers of frontline defense. Carriers launched hundreds of fighters that streaked across the sky, leaving long blue trails. Every ship moved with perfect discipline, every ship knew its role, every ship was ready. Admiral Reyes stood on the command deck, staring at the holographic battlefield. Her officers waited for orders. Reyes spoke with calm strength. Begin phased shielding around Velaris Prime. Deploy cruiser wings A, B, and C. Keep the railguns warm. Fighters in formation Delta. Her crew responded in seconds. Shields up, cruisers in position, fighters deployed, railguns charged. Reyes nodded slowly. Good, let's show them what humanity looks like when someone needs help. Her words were quiet but powerful. Velaris watches in awe on the ground. Velari families gathered on rooftops and balconies, and along open fields to watch the sky. Children pointed excitedly at the glowing ships. Adults cried openly with relief. A Velari child tugged her mother's robe. Who are they? She asked softly. The mother whispered, humans. The child tilted her head. Humans are this strong. The mother wiped a tear. Stronger. Nearby, a group of Velari soldiers stood with disbelief painted on their faces. Their own weapons looked tiny compared to the human armada above. A soldier laughed weakly. That is not a fleet, that is a miracle. Talon returned outside and looked upward again. He whispered, thank you whoever you are. The enemy's first move. The Dravix commander refused to wait. Fire on the human ships, he ordered. Show them this is our world now. His fleet moved forward. Dark, jagged ships glided like predators. Green plasma cannons lit up the void. The first blast streaked toward the human line, fast and deadly. Talon gasped, Admiral Reyes, they are firing. But humans were ready. Brace, Reyes said calmly. A massive human cruiser moved in front of the blast. Its shields absorbed the hit, sending ripples across its glowing hull, but the ship did not fall. The comm officer on the Horizon Spear reported minimal damage. Admiral, shield stable. Reyes nodded. Now we answer. Humanity strikes back. The Horizon Spear lit up like a star being born. Cannons glowed. Railguns hummed. Fighters peeled forward like silver arrows. Fire. Reyes said the word softly, almost gently, but the response was anything but gentle. A blinding blue beam erupted from the flagship's main cannon, cutting through space and hitting the nearest Dravix destroyer. The enemy ship exploded into fragments of fire and metal. Talon jumped back from the balcony rail as a shockwave rolled across the sky. Incredible, he breathed. Human cruisers joined in, launching torpedoes that tracked their targets with deadly precision. Human fighters danced around enemy ships, firing rapid bursts of plasma. In the distance, several Dravix vessels turned to flee, only to be intercepted by a swarm of human drones. The Velari could hardly believe what they were seeing. Humans were not just strong, they were unstoppable. Dravix panic inside the Dravix flagship. Officers shouted in panic. They destroyed 3 of our ships already. Their fighter formations are too advanced. We cannot break their shields. The commander snarled, tail lashing behind him. Fools, humans are only flesh and blood. They bleed, they die, push forward. But his crew did not respond. Fear clung to the air like thick smoke. The Dravix had expected a simple conquest. They had expected a weak, defenseless world. They had expected the galaxy to stay silent. But instead, humanity had come. And humanity did not come quietly. The sky of steel and light from the surface of Velaris, the war looked like 2 storms colliding. Explosions flashed like miniature suns, trails of fire streaked across the sky, thunder-like vibrations shook the mountains, yet the human line did not break. Admiral Reyes stood tall, her hands behind her back. Maintain formation, she commanded. Protect the planet, do not let a single shot touch the surface. Her crew responded with fierce loyalty. Velari screens showed human ships physically blocking plasma shots aimed at cities. They shielded Velari homes with their own hulls. A Velari citizen cried out, they are fighting like they are one of us. Elder Sarai closed her eyes. No, she whispered, they are fighting like protectors. Talon makes a discovery back inside the tower. Talon studied the sensor map. Suddenly he noticed something strange. Elder, Admiral Reyes. The Dravix ships, they're changing formation. He zoomed in, his heart dropped. They're preparing to fire their superweapon. The Dravix flagship began charging a massive green beam meant to tear apart human lines and then the planet itself. Talon grabbed the comm. Admiral, they are aiming at you. Reyes didn't flinch. I know, her eyes were fixed on the charging weapon, her face calm, focused. Prepare the Horizon Spear, she ordered. Full power to the forward railgun. Her officers stared at her. Admiral, that will push the ship beyond safe limits. Reyes finally smiled. Then it is a good thing humanity doesn't always follow limits. Her crew smirked in return. They knew this moment. They had trained for it. The Velari watched in awe as the Horizon Spear slowly tilted its massive cannon toward the Dravix flagship. The moment before the storm, the entire battlefield went quiet. Dravix superweapon, 87% charged. Human railgun, 91% charged. Talon's heart pounded so loudly he could barely hear. Elder Sarai whispered, which one will fire first? Talon clenched his fists. Please, please let it be them. The Dravix commander shouted across his bridge, "Fire!" But right before the Dravix weapon discharged, Admiral Reyes lowered her hand. "Release!" The Horizon Spear fired. A beam of pure blue energy exploded forward, cutting through space with blinding speed. And the Dravix weapon never fired. The human beam hit first. It tore through the Dravix flagship's front armor, burning through its core. The superweapon overloaded, imploding the entire vessel in a vortex of green and black fire. The sky lit up brighter than a sunrise. The Velari fell to their knees in shock. Talon covered his mouth, eyes wide. They did it. Elder Sarai exhaled a trembling breath. "Yes, child," she whispered. "Humanity saved us." But the battle was not over. Dravix ships still circled the edges of the battlefield, unsure whether to attack or flee. The choice would decide the future of Velaris, and humanity's next move would decide the future of the galaxy. For a moment, the battlefield became silent. The massive explosion from the destroyed Dravix flagship still glowed faintly in the distance, a cloud of shattered metal drifting slowly across space. The Horizon Spear floated ahead of the Velari world like a protective guardian, its cannon still warm from the devastating shot. Inside the Velari defense tower, Talon Vey and the officers watched in stunned disbelief. Their hearts pounded, their voices trembled. The impossible had happened right before their eyes. A Dravix superweapon, something meant to break planets, had been defeated by one human ship. Talon whispered, "Humans, they are unlike anyone else." But admiring humans would have to wait, because something strange began to happen on the battle map. Dravix ships, those that had not been destroyed, suddenly froze in place. They did not flee, they did not attack, they simply drifted unmoving as if waiting for something. Elder Sarai frowned. "Why did they stop?" Talon blinked at the screen. "This is not a surrender, it feels like a signal is reaching them." A cold shiver ran down his back. Something else was out there, something bigger. Quiet warning on the bridge of the Horizon Spear. Admiral Reyes stood steady as her crew analyzed the Dravix behavior. The wreck of the enemy flagship continued drifting across space like a dark corpse. "Admiral," the sensor officer reported, "the remaining Dravix ships have powered down weapons. They're holding position." Reyes narrowed her eyes. "That is not normal. They should be retreating." "They aren't," he replied. "They're waiting." "For what?" Reyes murmured. "Commander Holt." Her second-in-command stepped forward. "We should finish them before they regroup." Reyes shook her head. "No, there's more here we don't understand." The bridge grew quiet. The officers knew Admiral Reyes well. She had instincts sharper than steel. If she sensed danger, there was danger. "Scan the region," Reyes ordered. "All frequencies, all wavelengths, look for hidden signals." Her crew moved fast. Minutes passed. Then Admiral, the comm officer, shouted, "We found something." Reyes turned sharply. "What is it?" "It's a background frequency, faint, low, and encrypted. Not Velari, not Dravix, not ours." Reyes felt her stomach tighten. "A third party, a hidden influence, a shadow behind the stars." "Hail the Dravix ships," she ordered. "Let's see if they respond." The officer opened the channel. Static silence. Then a broken, distorted voice came through. "Humans, you do not understand. Leave, run." Reyes leaned closer. "Dravix commander, identify yourself." Silence. Then another voice, a deeper one, growled through the channel. "Too late," and the line went dead. Reyes whispered, "What was that?" A new threat moves in the stars above Velaris began to flicker. At first it looked like a passing shadow, then the shadow grew and grew. "Admiral," the sensor officer cried out. "Something huge is behind the Dravix fleet." The holographic map shifted, and a structure the size of a small moon appeared from the darkness. Talon, watching from the Velari tower, almost dropped to his knees. "What is that?" he gasped. Elder Sarai stepped forward, gripping her staff. "It is not a ship," she whispered. "It is a fortress." The object was shaped like a massive ring of black metal, spinning slowly. Strange red runes glowed around its edges. It moved with no engines visible, as if gravity itself bowed to its presence. The Horizon Spear's sensors struggled to scan it. "It's interfering with our systems," the officer shouted. "We can't read its weapons or power source." Reyes clenched her jaw. Whatever it wasn't Dravix. It was something the Dravix feared, something controlling them. A deep hum vibrated through space, so powerful it rattled windows on the surface of Velaris. The black ring fortress pulsed with an eerie red light. Talon felt the hairs on his neck rise. I can feel it," he whispered. "Something ancient." Elder Sarai closed her eyes. "Yes, something very old and very angry." The galaxy's worst secret inside the Horizon Spear's bridge. Admiral Reyes stared at the monstrous structure. "Commander Holt," she said slowly, "does this match any known designs?" Holt swallowed. "No, Admiral, this is beyond anything we've seen." A scientist on board, Dr. Kira Malik, rushed in, holding a tablet glowing with data. "Admiral, you need to hear this." Reyes nodded. "Speak." Dr. Malik took a deep breath. "This signal, the encrypted one, it's a command frequency." "A command?" Reyes asked. "Yes, it controls the Dravix ships." The bridge fell silent. Dr. Malik continued, "The Dravix are not attacking on their own, they're being forced, manipulated. The real enemy is whoever controls that fortress." Reyes felt a chill in her bones. And who is that? Dr. Malik looked up, fear in her eyes. An extinct species, or so we believed, the ancient ones called the Zyroth. Commander Holt stiffened. The Zyroth, those are myths, ghost stories. Dr. Malik shook her head. No, they were real, and if this structure belongs to them, then humanity is facing a threat greater than the Draviks. Reyes looked at the stars, a new enemy, an ancient one, and it had chosen Velaris as its battleground. The Velari realized the truth back in the defense tower. Talon felt the ground shake again. Elder, he said, this fortress, does it have any history with us? Elder Sarai's face went pale. Long ago our ancestors spoke of a darkness that swallowed stars, a race that moved entire systems like pieces on a board. She looked at Talon with sorrow. We thought it was legend. Talon whispered it was not. The fortress moved slowly, turning its glowing red core toward the human armada. A low, rumbling sound vibrated through the atmosphere. A weapon was charging. Humanity makes a choice on the horizon. Spear. Alarms blared. Admiral, the fortress is powering a massive energy pulse. We need to retreat. Shields won't survive that blast. Reyes looked at her crew, then at Velaris Prime below, then at the gigantic ancient fortress aiming at them. Retreat, she repeated softly. Her officers looked confused. Reyes slammed her hand onto the console. No, we stay. Her voice hardened. Humanity does not abandon those we promise to protect. Holt nodded without hesitation. The rest of the bridge crew straightened. Then we fight, he said. Reyes pointed toward the towering ring fortress. All ships redirect power to forward shields, form a defensive wall around Velaris Prime. Her voice boomed across the Armada. Humanity stands here. Hundreds of human ships moved instantly, forming a shield dome above the Velari world. The first strike from the red core of the fortress flashed. A massive wave of crimson energy blasted outward, racing across the battlefield like a storm made of fire and lightning. Talon screamed, it's coming toward the planet. Reyes shouted, hold the line. Human cruisers moved forward, absorbing the blast. Their shields rippled, their hulls cracked. 3 ships exploded at once. But the blast did not reach Velaris Prime. The Armada held, barely. Elder Sarai watched the sky filled with burning streaks of debris. She whispered, humans, why do they risk so much for us? Talon answered softly, because they said they would. A new hope, a new fear. The fortress hummed again, preparing a second pulse. Reyes knew they couldn't hold another. She turned to Dr. Malik. How do we stop it? Malik looked frightened, but determined. There is a weak point inside the ring, a central core, but to hit it, someone must fly close, very close. Reyes understood immediately. That's a suicide run. Malik nodded slowly. Unless, she looked at the screen where human fighters were regrouping. Unless we send the finest pilot humanity has. Reyes smiled faintly. Oh, I know exactly who. The camera screen flickered to reveal a young pilot in a sleek starfighter, grinning with wild courage. His call sign glowed under his portrait, Rift. He cracked his knuckles. Admiral, you need that fortress gone? Reyes nodded. Rift smirked. Then I'll go knock. Talon watched the human pilot's fighter streak forward into the darkness, heading straight for the ancient fortress. He whispered, humanity, you never fail to surprise. The sky lit with new danger, new hope, new terror, and the real war had only just begun. The battlefield around Velaris Prime burned with drifting fires and broken metal. Human ships held their defensive wall, engines glowing like blue shields of hope. But behind the smoke, behind the shattered Dravik's fleet, the ancient fortress continued to move. Slow, silent, massive, like a titan waking after 1,000 years of sleep. Inside the Velari defense tower, Talon Vey watched the holographic map with frozen breath. Each rotation of the fortress felt heavier, darker, as if the structure itself carried the weight of forgotten wars. Elder, Talon whispered, is this the end? Elder Sarai placed her trembling hand on his shoulder. No, she said firmly, not while the humans fight, and at the front of that fight flew a single starfighter, a silver streak against the black sky, a small craft diving straight toward an ancient monster. Inside the cockpit, the young human pilot known as Rift tightened his grip on the controls. His heart beat fast, but his eyes were steady. He trusted himself, he trusted his ship, and he trusted Admiral Reyes. Her voice echoed through his headset. Rift, this mission is voluntary, you don't have to do this alone. He smirked. Admiral, with respect, I don't plan on doing it alone. Reyes frowned. What do you mean? Rift tilted his fighter's wings and looked behind him. A formation of 7 human fighters appeared, engines glowing in tight unity. Rift laughed. You didn't think I'd go alone, right? Commander Holt's voice echoed over the line. Admiral, the pilots insisted. Reyes exhaled slowly, not in frustration, but in pride. Very well, she said softly. Human Squadron Gamma, you are cleared to engage. The run to the fortress, the ancient structure grew larger as they approached. Its surface was black metal etched with red symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. Strange cables wrapped around its edges like veins. The closer they flew, the more Rift felt an unnatural pressure building around them, as if something was watching, as if the fortress itself was alive. A human pilot named Astra whispered on comms, guys, I don't like this. My instruments are glitching. Another pilot, Jax, responded, "Stay focused. We get in, hit the core, get out." "Assuming there is an out," Astra muttered. Rift steadied his voice. "There is, because we're not dying today," but deep inside even he felt a cold fear. The fortress wasn't acting like a machine, it was reacting to them. The glowing red lines along its surface brightened as if irritated by their presence. Talon watched from the tower. "It's waking up." Inside the human flagship, Admiral Reyes grabbed the railing of the command deck, eyes locked on Rift's fighter. "Keep the long-range cannons ready," she ordered. "If that fortress charges another pulse, we intercept it." Her officer turned toward her, voice trembling. "Admiral, we lost 3 cruisers holding the last blast. We can't take another hit." Reyes clenched her jaw. "Then we'll make sure it never fires again." She looked at a hologram of the giant ring fortress. The structure dwarfed every human ship in the area. If it unleashed its full power, Velaris Prime would be erased. There was no room for failure. The first defenses awakened. Rift squadron flew toward the center opening in the ring. Red lights flickered to life around the edges. Astra gasped. "Something's moving." Hundreds, no, thousands of small spheres detached from the inner walls. They were shaped like metallic orbs with jagged lines glowing red. They floated for a moment, then unfolded into claw-like drones. Jax cursed. "Drones incoming." The swarm moved like a wave, fast. Coordinated, cold. Rift reacted instantly. All fighters break. The human squadron burst into separate directions. Laser fire lit the space between them. Drones chased like angry hornets. Rift fired twin plasma shots, destroying 3 drones in a single streak of blue. Astra flipped her fighter, blasting 5 more. Jax spun wildly, shaking off drones locked to his engine. But for every drone destroyed, 10 more appeared. Talon watched from the tower with rising terror. "Elder, they cannot survive this." Elder Sarai whispered, "They do not fight because they expect to survive. They fight because someone must." Rift's bold gamble inside the cockpit. Rift gritted his teeth. His fighter trembled from drone impacts. "We're not going to outfight them," he muttered. "We need to outsmart them." He opened the comm. "Gamma Squadron, listen up. Fly toward the upper ring spire." Astra shouted, "What?" "That leads straight into a dead end." "Exactly," Rift said. "Trust me." The pilots exchanged quick, nervous breaths but followed. They flew into a narrow corridor along the ring's outer surface. Drones swarmed behind them like a metal storm. The corridor grew tighter, walls covered in moving machinery. Astra yelled, "We're trapped." Rift grinned. "No, they are." He targeted the ceiling. "Jax, fire with me." Both fired at once. Their shots hit a row of glowing red support beams. A chain reaction erupted. The ceiling collapsed behind them, crushing hundreds of drones and sealing the swarm away. Astra screamed in relief. "That was insane," Rift laughed. "Insane wins wars." The core reveals itself now safely inside the ring. The squadron approached the central core chamber, a vast circular hollow where a massive red sphere floated, held by rotating energy spirals. It pulsed like a living heart. Dr. Malik's voice crackled through the Horizon Spear's comms. "Rift, that is the core. Hit the energy spirals first. It will destabilize the ring." Rift locked onto the glowing spirals. "Gamma, form up. Target the spirals. 3, 2, 1, fire." A brilliant barrage of blue plasma pierced the rotating spirals. Cracks spread across the red sphere. Energy flares sparked dangerously. Astra shouted, "It's working." But the victory was short-lived. The fortress reacted. A deep, ancient voice, neither digital nor organic, filled every cockpit. "Your interference is noted. You will be removed." A cold wind seemed to blow through Rift's mind. The temperature in the cockpit dropped. The lights flickered. Jax whispered, terrified. It spoke. Astra screamed, "It's shutting my ship down, my controls." Her fighter spun out of formation. Rift yelled, "Astra, pull up." "I can't." Her ship slammed against an inner wall and exploded in a burst of fire. Talon covered his mouth, horrified. "One of them just died," Elder Sarai whispered. "Humans are giving everything." The fortress strikes back. The central core flared bright red. A beam of crimson energy shot toward the human squadron. "Dodge," Rift screamed. Jax barely pulled away. 2 other pilots were hit and vanished instantly. Rift's fighter shook violently as he spun into the shadows beneath a giant rotating gear. 3 pilots remained: Rift, Jax, and Lyra. Reyes watched the carnage from the Horizon Spear, heart sinking. "Rift, pull back," she whispered. "There are too many." But Rift shook his head, sweat dripping. "No, Admiral, if we pull back, Velaris dies." He aimed his fighter at the cracked core. "Jax, Lyra, cover me." Jax's voice trembled. "This is suicide." Rift smiled sadly. "Only if I miss." The final strike, the red core pulsed again, preparing another deadly blast. Rift angled his fighter into a dive. Engine screaming, he was going to fly into the core, straight into the heart of the ancient monster. Jax shouted, "Rift, no." Rift whispered, "For humanity and for Velaris." He fired all remaining torpedoes. They streaked toward the core, but the core's shield flared. The torpedoes bounced off. Rift cursed. "Shield's too strong." Lyra cried out, "Rift, abort." But Rift didn't stop. He accelerated. Faster, faster, faster. His fighter glowed from overheating. Talon, Elder Sarai whispered in the tower, "Pray for him." Rift whispered to himself, come on, brake." He aimed at a tiny crack in the core, and at the last possible second his fighter smashed through. A blinding explosion filled the ring. The entire fortress shook violently, cracks spread across its surface. Red lights blinked wildly. Talon shouted, "He did it, he broke the core." But in the explosion, Rift's fighter vanished. Admiral Reyes stood frozen, tears in her eyes. She whispered one word, "Rift," but before grief could take the battlefield, the ancient fortress began to collapse, and something inside it began to awaken. The real threat, the true enemy, the reason the Xyroth were feared across the galaxy. The next part of the story was about to begin. The ancient fortress was dying. The moment Rift's fighter smashed into the glowing red core, the entire ring structure trembled. Violent cracks snaked across its massive surface. Sparks burst from its metal veins. The rotating energy spirals collapsed one by one, creating shockwaves that rolled through the battlefield. From the Velari defense tower, Talon watched in awe. "He destroyed the core," he whispered the words like a prayer. Elder Sarai nodded slowly, though her eyes filled with sadness. "Yes, at the cost of his life." Talon tightened his fists. "Humans, they are too brave for their own good." But the Elder did not answer. Her gaze was fixed on the collapsing fortress. Something wasn't right. The fortress wasn't only collapsing, it was expanding. The outer ring cracked and sections peeled away like the shell of a giant egg. A deep red glow pulsed inside, brighter than before, brighter than the core ever was. Talon felt the temperature drop in the tower. "Oh no," the humans feel it first. On the bridge of the Horizon Spear, Admiral Reyes stood unmoving, staring at the giant screen. Her jaw clenched. Her eyes narrowed. "Something's happening inside the fortress," her sensor officer whispered. Reyes didn't blink. She felt it too, a presence, a pressure, like something ancient was waking up after being trapped for ages. Commander Holt stepped beside her. "Admiral Rift gave his life to destroy that thing. Whatever is coming out, it better not undo everything." Reyes said nothing. She only watched. Deep inside her heart, she felt a fear she had not felt in years. The Dravix react on the far side of the battlefield. The surviving Dravix ships trembled uncontrollably. Their hulls rattled, their engines sputtered, their soldiers screamed in terror. The Dravix commander shouted, fall back now." But it was too late. Every Dravix onboard felt the same icy voice inside their skulls. Expansion complete. One by one, Dravix ships began to shut down. Power failed, lights died, their engines flickered out. The fortress wasn't attacking them. It was draining them. Talon grabbed the console. "They're losing power, the fortress is absorbing it." Elder Sarai whispered, "It is feeding." The shell breaks, a sound like grinding metal and ripping mountains echoed across the system. The black plates of the fortress tore apart, massive pieces drifted away, exposing the glowing inner chamber, and then they saw it, a sphere of pure darkness floating in the exposed center. Not metal, not energy, not technology, something else. Something alive. It pulsed like a heart, but its surface was void, no reflection, no texture, no color. It was emptiness given shape. Talon staggered backward, breath shaking. What is that?" The Elder's face went pale. "It is the reason the Xyroth were feared. It is the reason entire civilizations vanished." She took a trembling breath. "They called it the Hollow Seed." The Hollow Seed awakens. The sphere vibrated. Waves of darkness seeped from its surface, drifting like smoke across space. The temperature in the Velari tower dropped so sharply that frost formed around the windows. A whisper filled the minds of every living being in the system. "Unit detected." Talon grabbed his head, his ears ringing. "That voice, it's inside my mind." Every Velari collapsed to their knees. Even the humans on the ships clutched their heads, except Admiral Reyes. She stood firm, teeth gritted, resisting the mental pressure. "What are you?" she demanded. The voice answered from all directions: observer, consumer, continuation. Reyes felt a chill crawl down her spine. This wasn't a weapon, this wasn't a structure, this was a species, or something worse. Something that did not think in the same way humans or Velari did, a hollow seed created by an ancient race to store consciousness. But this one had not been storing consciousness, it had been storing hunger. Commander Holt choked as he tried to breathe. It's pulling at our ships. It's draining power, oxygen, heat." Reyes slammed her hand on the button. "All ships, reinforce shielding, do not let the drain reach the planet." Velaris falls into shadow on the planet below. The sky dimmed. The sun's light weakened. Shadows lengthened unnaturally. Children cried as street lamps flickered out. Citizens stumbled as dizziness hit them. The hollow seed was draining life. Talon stumbled toward Elder Sarai. "Elder, it's draining the planet. What do we do?" The Elder closed her eyes. "That thing, it does not feed on food or metal. It feeds on heat, on life, on energy, on thought." She looked at the tower's trembling lights. "If it stays active, Velaris will become a dead world." Talon felt panic rise in his throat, and the humans, Elder Sarai's gaze darkened. The humans will be next. The hollow seed takes form. The sphere's surface cracked. A long, jagged line ripped across the void, then another, and another. Black fluid, like liquid shadows, poured out and formed long, sharp limbs. The seed expanded, twisting as it grew larger and larger, until it formed a shape. A shape like a giant humanoid, but wrong in every possible way. Too thin, too tall, arms that split into four, a face with no eyes but a mouth of swirling darkness, a hollow seed wraith. Talon fell silent. Humans on the Horizon Spear gasped. Even the Dravix screamed. Reyes steadied her breath. This is what destroyed the Zyroth, isn't it? Dr. Malik responded through gritted teeth. Not destroyed, Admiral, consumed. The Wraith sets its eyes on humanity. The Wraith's head turned slowly toward the human armada, its featureless face pointed directly at the horizon spear. Reyes felt the voice again, stabbing into her mind like needles. You resist, you adapt, you are suitable. Her eyes widened. Suitable for what? The Wraith tilted its head. Assimilation. And then it moved, faster than any ship, faster than any fighter, a streak of shadow tearing through space toward the horizon spear. Humanity stands firm, Reyes shouted. All ships fire. The Armada unleashed everything: lasers, plasma torpedoes, railguns. Space erupted in explosions. A wall of blue fire raced toward the Wraith. The Wraith didn't dodge, it walked through the fire. Talon screamed from the tower, that's impossible. Wraith's body absorbed the blasts, turning the energy into more shadow. Holt shouted from the bridge, Admiral, our attacks are feeding it. Reyes clenched her jaw. Then we changed tactics. She pointed to the weapons officer. Get me the anti-void lance. He froze. Admiral, that prototype isn't tested yet. Reyes glared. It's our only weapon not made of energy. Her voice hardened. Ready the lance. A message from the dead as the humans prepared their untested. A sudden burst of static crackled through the comms. Reyes turned sharply. What now? The static transformed into a voice, a familiar voice, a voice she thought she'd never hear again. Admiral, it's Rift. Every officer on the bridge froze. Talon, hearing it through the transmission relay, gasped. He's alive. The signal cracked again. Rift's voice came through, weak but determined. I'm inside the fortress, not dead, but you need to listen. The hollow seed has a second core. It's waking up. Reyes felt her blood run cold. A second core, Rift coughed. Admiral, if it activates, everything dies. Reyes steadied herself. Rift, can you destroy it? Silence. Then Rift whispered, I'll try, but I'm not coming back this time. Reyes closed her eyes in pain. Rift, humanity never leaves its own behind. Rift's voice cracked. I know, Admiral, but I'm already behind. The signal faded. The Wraith roared, a soundless scream that shook planets. And the ancient nightmare finally attacked. The battlefield above Velaris Prime was no longer a war zone, it was a nightmare. The giant Wraith formed from the hollow seed drifted through space like a living shadow, its long limbs slicing through debris with ease. Human attacks only fed its growing power. Dravik's ships floated powerless, drained of all life and energy. Velaris itself grew darker, colder, as the creature pulled heat and light from the planet. Inside the Velari defense tower, Talon Vey could barely keep himself steady. How can something like this exist? He whispered. Elder Sarai gripped her staff tightly. It is not alive in the way we understand life, she said. It is hunger given shape. In the heart of the fortress, far away from the battle, deep inside the collapsing fortress, Rift lay half-conscious on a broken metal floor. His fighter was destroyed, torn apart by the explosion that shattered the first core. Sparks rained from above, the air tasted like burning metal. Pain shot through his body as he tried to stand, but he could stand. That meant he was alive, barely. Rift pressed a shaking hand against his helmet, activating his emergency comm. Admiral, this is Rift, I'm alive. Static, then Rey's voice broke through, trembling with shock and hope. Rift, how? We saw your fighter explode. He breathed heavily. Didn't explode, the shockwave threw me inside the fortress. Suit sealed, I'm okay for now. There was a pause. Holt's voice spoke next, soft and shaken. Rift, you absolute maniac. Rift smirked weakly. You say that like it's new. But then his voice hardened. Admiral, it's not over. There's something else here, something worse. He pointed his helmet light forward and saw it, a second core chamber, bigger, darker, alive. Black fluid dripped down its surface like blood. Fractured metal formed a nest around it. The air vibrated with whispers that were not human nor machine. Rift stepped back. Admiral, this thing isn't just a core, it's incubating. Reyes froze on the bridge. Incubating what? Rift swallowed. A second Wraith, stronger than the first. The bridge went silent. Talon, listening from the tower, felt his blood turn to ice. 2 Wraiths would be the end of Velaris, the end of the human fleet, maybe even the end of entire regions of the galaxy. Rift raised his weapon, a small emergency plasma pistol. He aimed at the core and fired. The blast hit the surface. Nothing happened. The core absorbed the shot like water absorbing rain. Rift cursed. Admiral, normal weapons won't work. Rey's voice came through, steady but tense. Rift, listen carefully. That thing cannot be allowed to awaken. I know, Rift breathed. So how do we kill it? She asked. A pause. Rift stared at the dark core, eyes narrowing. We don't. The Wraith turns its gaze in space. The giant Wraith turned its faceless head toward the horizon spear. The temperature on the flagship dropped suddenly, -10 degrees, -20, -30. Frost spread across the windows. Holt shouted, it's pulling heat directly from our reactors. Reyes braced herself. Prepare the anti-void lance. The weapons officer shook his head. We still need 2 minutes to power it. Then give me one, Reyes snarled. Wraith raised its long arms, energy built in its chest. A swirling, devouring vortex of darkness aimed directly at the horizon spear. Talon screamed from the tower, if the spear falls, the planet falls. Rift finds the truth deep inside the fortress. Rift stumbled forward, his suit lights flickered, the whispers around him grew louder. One unit, unbound, potential, suitable vessel. Rift froze. Vessel, no thanks, I'm not renting out my body. The whispers darken. You misunderstand, there is no choice. The entire chamber vibrated, the second core pulsed, calling to him. Rift gritted his teeth. Admiral, I know what the seed wants. Reyes spoke quietly. What? It wants a host, Rift said, a living mind to guide its awakening. Holt's voice cracked. You mean it wants to possess someone? Rift nodded slowly. That first wraith, it was incomplete, born without a mind, but this one, it wants a pilot. A pilot just like him. He turned toward the core, breathing hard. And Admiral, I think I'm close enough for it to pick me. Rey's voice broke. Rift, get out of there, that's an order. Rift shook his head. I can't. If I leave, it will find someone else, or worse, it will choose someone on the planet. Talon felt a cold shiver. What if it chose a Velari child, a human officer, anyone? It would be unstoppable. Rift gripped his pistol tighter. But if I stay, maybe I can buy time. The wraith attacks in space. The first wraith stretched its arms wide. The darkness around its chest ignited a gravitational storm, pulling light, heat, and energy toward it. Reyes shouted, all hands brace. The wraith fired. A beam of swirling darkness shot toward the horizon spear faster than anything they had seen. Rey's heart stopped. That beam could crack planets, and humans were directly in its path. A human shield, but something moved. A human cruiser, the UHC Valor, threw itself in front of the spear. Commander Holt screamed, Valor, get out of the way, but it was too late. The wraith's attack hit the cruiser dead center. A blinding flash spread across space. When the light faded, a hole the size of a mountain was burned through the cruiser's hull, but the horizon spear lived. Reyes bowed her head. The Valor saved us. Talon whispered from the tower, humans, they protect each other as fiercely as they protect us. Rift's last decision in the fortress. Rift felt the echo of the wraith's attack. Dust fell from the ceiling. The second core pulsed violently, reacting to its sibling's rage. Rift steadied himself. He knew what he had to do. Admiral, he said quietly. Rey's voice trembled. Rift, please don't say it. But he said it anyway. I'm going to let the seed link with me. The bridge went silent. Talon froze. Elder Sarai gasped. Reyes slammed her fist down. Rift, no. He smiled faintly. It won't get full control. My mind will resist, but I'll feel everything it does. If I merge with it, even for a moment, I might be able to turn it against the wraith outside. Rey's voice cracked. You're talking about torture, you're talking about death, Rift. He laughed weakly. I already died once today. A brief silence, then he whispered, tell my squad I'm proud of them. He walked toward the pulsing core. The whispers grew louder. Suitable, open. Become. Rift closed his eyes. Admiral, her breath caught. Thank you for believing in me. And he placed his hand on the core. The seed chooses a pilot. Black tendrils shot out and wrapped around Rift's arm. He screamed, a sound that echoed through the fortress, through the comms, through every ship. The second wraith began to awaken. Its eyes, two burning red stars, opened for the first time. And the first wraith in space stopped attacking. It felt the awakening. It turned toward the fortress, and it roared. Reyes whispered, oh no. Talon gripped the railing. What's happening? Elder Sarai swallowed. The Ancient Ones are about to fight each other. The battlefield was about to become a war between two godlike monsters, a hollow wraith born of darkness and a hollow wraith with a human soul inside. And humanity stood in the middle. The hollow seed's inner chamber shook so violently that Rift fell to his knees. Black tendrils crawled up his arms, digging into his suit, pulling at his mind like claws made of fear. Whispers surrounded him, cold, relentless, ancient. Merge, merge, merge. He screamed as visions flooded his head, entire star systems collapsing into darkness, planets drained of life, civilizations erased in seconds. The seed wasn't just a weapon, it was a memory of death, and now it was trying to plant those memories inside him. On the horizon spear, Admiral Reyes stood motionless as Rift's screams echoed across the bridge. Her officers turned away, unable to listen, unable to imagine the pain that pilot was enduring. Commander Holt gripped the railing until his knuckles turned white. Admiral, if he merges completely, will he still be human? Reyes didn't answer because she didn't know, but she hoped, she prayed. Talon Vey, Reyes called, opening the channel to the Velari Tower. We may need your world's help, anything, any knowledge, any history. Talon looked at Elder Sarai, but the Elder's eyes were wet with fear. We do not have knowledge for this, she said. What awakens inside that fortress is beyond all species. Reyes clenched her jaw. Then we stand alone, she thought. The first wraith reacts in space. The giant wraith, a monstrous figure of shadow, tilted its faceless head toward the fortress. Its body twisted, limbs stretching unnaturally. It felt the awakening. It felt the birth of its sibling, the seed wraith. It roared silently, a psychic scream that shook Velaris and rattled every human ship. Holt staggered back. Admiral, it's calling to the new one. Reyes understood the first wraith wasn't the true threat. The second wraith, the one merging with Rift, would be far more powerful. This wasn't just a fight for Velaris. This was a fight for Rift's soul. Second wraith awakens inside the fortress. Rift collapsed as the seed invaded his mind. His vision blurred, his heartbeat slowed, then everything stopped. Darkness swallowed him, a voice cold but curious whispered inside his head, "What are you?" Rift gritted his teeth. "I'm human." The seed paused. Human, adaptive, emotional, chaotic. Its tone shifted as if tasting the word. "Useful." Rift snarled, voice cracking, "I'm not your tool." Tendrils tightened around him, dragging him toward the rising core, his limbs pulled in painful angles. "You resist," the seed said. "Resistance increases compatibility. Compatibility increases potential." Rift felt himself slipping, sinking, drowning. The seed wanted to use him, wanted to pilot his mind like a stolen ship, but something unexpected happened. As the seed reached deeper, it touched something it had never encountered before: human emotion, human will, human rage and sacrifice and loyalty. The seed recoiled. "What is this?" Rift forced a breath. "That," he whispered, "is why humans win." The seed hesitated, then screamed inside his mind. Rift collapsed, shaking violently as the chamber turned blood red. "Humanity has 2 minutes on the horizon." Spear Ray's officers yelled across the bridge. "Admiral, the seed wraith is rising inside the fortress. It's forming limbs. It's absorbing the fortress's remains. It's going to break free." Holt stared at the growing shadow with horror. "If that thing escapes, it will devour every world in its path." Ray's closed her eyes. "Then we stop it." The weapons officer shouted, "Anti-void lance at 80% charge." "Faster," Ray's ordered. "We won't get a second chance." Rift fights back inside the fortress. Rift's heartbeat fluttered like a dying flame. He felt his memories slipping away: childhood, flight school, his squad, the horizons. Admiral Ray's, he bit down hard, forcing his mind to focus. "No," he whispered, "you don't get to have me." The seed hissed, "Surrender." Rift roared back, "Make me." And suddenly the seed froze. It hadn't expected resistance strong enough to injure it, but Rift wasn't fighting alone. In the depths of his mind he felt something warm, a memory, a voice. "Humanity does not abandon its own." Ray's words echoed in his heart, a spark, a fire. Rift pushed back, his thoughts slamming into the seed like a blast wave. "Tell me what you fear," Rift shouted. The seed hissed violently. "Fear? We do not." But then Rift saw it, a fragment deep in the seed's ancient memory. Light, not darkness, a weapon of the Zyroth, the only thing the seeds feared, a starbreaker, a weapon of pure nuclear light. Rift gasped. "Admiral," he shouted into the comm. "I know what can kill it." Ray's jumped forward. "Tell me." Rift screamed. "Light, pure light. Flood it with heat and radiation." Ray's turned to Holt. "Holt, redirect all reactor output through the lance." Holt's eyes widened. "That will burn the weapon out and possibly the ship." Ray's didn't blink. "Do it." The wraiths prepare to fight in space. The first wraith drifted closer, its body expanding and twisting into monstrous new shapes. From the fortress, the second wraith, the seed wraith, began to emerge, carrying Rift's faint heartbeat inside its growing form. Talon watched in horror. "Two wraiths, they are going to fight over who gets to consume us." Elder Sarai shook her head. "No, they are going to fight over who gets to consume him." Rift, the human mind bonded to the seed. The lance charges. The horizon spear glowed white-hot as it concentrated all its energy into the anti-void lance. The lights inside the ship flickered, engine cores overheated, reactor alarms blared, but Ray's didn't flinch. "Bring it to 100%, she said softly. Holt nodded. "For Rift, for humanity, for Velaris." The lance's tip began to glow, bright enough to blind sensors. A human inside a monster inside the seed wraith. Rift felt his body dissolving into light and shadow. He had 1 minute left before he lost himself completely. He screamed into the comm, "Admiral, fire the lance." Ray's inhaled slowly. "Rift, if we shoot the lance." "And you're still inside." "I know," Rift shouted. "Do it anyway." Ray's voice cracked. "Rift, you deserve to live." Rift smiled weakly, tears in his eyes. "Admiral, I lived when you answered Velaris' call. This is just me answering yours." Then the seed finally overwhelmed him. His scream echoed across every channel. The final moment Ray's raised her hand. Anti-void lance. The wraiths collided, one born of ancient darkness, one infused with a human mind. Target locked. The entire human armada held its breath. Fire. The horizon spear unleashed a beam of pure white nuclear light, hotter than any star, brighter than any sun. The beam struck the seed wraith dead center. The battlefield exploded with light so powerful that even the first wraith recoiled and screamed. Talon covered his eyes. Elder Sarai fell to her knees. Every human ship rocked from the shockwave. The seed wraith shrieked, its form dissolving, breaking apart piece by piece until only a fading echo remained. The blast tore through the fortress, through the shadows, through the seed, and through Rift. The aftermath of light. When the light faded, only silence remained. The second wraith was gone. The fortress was dust. The darkness withdrew, but so did Rift's signal. Ray's whispered, "Rift, are you there?" Static, no answer, but the first wraith, the original monster of shadow, was still alive. And now it was furious. Its brother was dead, and it wanted revenge.